Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings, 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
Afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I would like to say good afternoon to my teacher, Mr. Crispin Gray Johnson. It's nice to be here with you. My name is Adama Demba, but now they call me Dr. Adama Demba, and that is because of my achievement. As my colleagues have said, we came here in 1965 and graduated in 1971. Okay. We came in 1965 and graduated in 1971. My background is nursing. After leaving school, I trained as a nurse midwife. 71 to 74, I trained as a nurse, and 74 to 78, I trained as a midwife. And when I say nurse midwife, I mean nurse midwife. It was real nursing. We really practiced nursing. From there, I went into community health. And I went to Botswana and did my diploma in community health. As you know, this country, then, you never say no when you are posted. So I was posted to the School for Community Health Nurses in Mansakonko, where I taught nurses that were responsible for the primary health care program. We used to have a very good primary health care program in this country. But now, let's leave it at that. We cannot say everything that has happened. Then I proceeded to Botswana. I also did my diploma program in Botswana. I was sent to Bansang in charge of the whole region. I went, but I didn't regret it. Because if you don't go out on postings, if you don't go into the rural areas, you will not have a story to tell. You will not know what is happening. So it was a good experience. From there, I went to UK, University of Wales. There I did my master's program. Now, when I came back, I was posted to the program for acute respiratory infection in children. You will not know that. It's a bit technical, but I was at headquarters running that program. From there, I went to UK again. After a while, I came back after a while. Then I went to UK again and did my PhD program. After that, I came. I was also posted at the headquarters. I worked as the chief nursing officer. From there, I was transferred as the director of health services. That's where I stayed until I retired. Then, after I retired, I joined the University of the Gambia as a lecturer. And that's where I am up till now. See? Gambia High School has taught me a lot. It was a nice experience with my colleagues. You know, you will always feel when you stop trying. Don't stop trying. Just continue. You don't say, I cannot do this. Just continue. You think you cannot do it, but when you try, you find that you'll succeed. See? So just keep on trying. That's me. Okay? Thank you.
I joined Gambia High School from St. Mary's Primary School. And before that, I went to Albion when I was 5.5, 6. I went to Albion School, and then I prepared a speech, and then I started ad-libbing. So much of what I have become and what I have achieved in my life has been influenced by events, people, and circumstances during the 6 years I spent at Gambia High School. After I graduated, I got a scholarship to go and study home economics. I had studied home economics from Form 1 up to Upper 5. A lady called Mrs. Adele Fainjai was my teacher. She was very passionate about home economics. She was also a very tough teacher. She was a no-nonsense teacher. So after I graduated, I had an offer from the Ministry of Education to sponsor me to study home economics and to come back and teach. So already for me, that created a path that I continued to build on for the rest of my active professional life. Others who influenced me then, an influence that I continue to treasure, of course, all my teachers influenced me positively, but I'm just going to single out a few of them because, it would take time for me to name all. The other influence was from the teachers who taught me French. Yes, you were not one of them, by the way. I'm sorry, but you taught the A class. From 1 to 3, I was in the B stream, so we had different teachers. So first, it was Dr. Siddharth Job. He had just finished sixth form and was kind of like a teacher's assistant before he went on to university. He was my first French teacher, and then followed by Miss Oba, who later became Mrs. Matugi, Mrs. Jane, and then finally our two volunteer teachers from the UK, Mr. and Mrs. Andrews. They made me fall in love with the French language. I'm not articulate, I haven't excelled in it, but I have continued to learn the language to develop my skills in French language, and this has benefited me, especially when I had the opportunity to enter the international development field. So I've told you these experiences are more on the formal side of the curriculum in the school. But what had the most profound and most enduring influence in my life was not in the formal curriculum, and it was not from any teacher per se. Rather, it was the impact of a little blue book, very tiny, small blue, with a blue cover. I don't know if you guys remember that book. The missionaries would go around distributing them. At the time, I didn't know what it was. But that little blue book had the most profound influence in my life, even now, continues to be so. My introduction to, the book was called the New Testament, by the way. It was the New Testament. I didn't know that at the time. As I said, I went to Albion School and then St. Mary's Primary. So I was exposed to some Christian practices. I used to love the hymns. So I would sneak into Christian assembly just to listen to the hymns because they made me feel so good. So when I came to Gambia High School, it felt natural that I would continue to attend Christian assembly because I had the experience already and I loved the hymns and so on. So initially I went in mostly for the hymns, but then I can't remember how I came to own that little blue book, and it basically transfixed me. I had already been very familiar with reading stories about superheroes, superhuman beings, because my dad introduced me to the Greek mythology, which stories about the Greek gods and goddesses doing, miraculous things. So when I opened that little blue book and started reading about this guy in the book doing all those miraculous things, healing the sick and raising the dead, it felt like the stories of the Greek gods and goddesses all over again. And I was basically hooked. I was hooked. It was like a drug. And so this continued. I would hide the book in my desk, and during break time, I would open it and read quickly, stealthily in it. And when somebody was coming, I would hide it because I was a Muslim. I was born and raised a Muslim up to that time. And it would have been I would have been in trouble. So in fact, my dad never knew I had that book. He may not have minded, but he never knew. And my fixation continued, got me curious about Jesus, because the New Testament was about Jesus. That little book told stories about Jesus and the miraculous things that he did. And I continued to enjoy reading about him. And my curiosity did not end, did not stop, even when I became an adult. I married a Christian, and 4 years after our marriage, I became a Christian myself. I got baptized. In fact, my husband's name is on that list right there, Vidal Ashcroft. You look it up there. He was a prefect in the school. So all that love, all that experience I had with that little blue book actually turned out to be positive, And as a Christian, I feel blessed. I have never looked back except to that day when that person gave me that blue book. It's a memory that I cherish for the rest of my life. My son is a Reverend minister. He is here, Reverend Shaka Ashcroft. He's an ordained minister of the church. And for me, the lessons that I want to share from my story for you young people here, the lessons that I want to share that are highlights. 1, follow your dreams and your passion. Allow yourselves to explore the unknown. Don't be afraid of the unknown, because you never know, there might be huge treasure at the end there. Be prepared to question dogma and ideology. Do not blindly accept ideology just for the sake of it, or just because somebody says. Try to understand it, make sense out of it, and find meaning before you accept it. Be open to say, tell me more. I want to understand your point of view. When you are in a situation where you are engaged with somebody and you are beginning to have doubts, say to that person, tell me more about your story, your point of view. I want to understand it. And I want to leave this quote with you. It's from Thomas Martin. He was a social activist, a monk, and a theologian. He said, if I insist on giving you my truth and never stop to receive your truth in return, then there can be no truth between us. I thank you.
Thanks for those words of wisdom. I'm sure we'll reflect on them, and that the students assembled here will pay proper heed to what you've just said. Let me call on Mrs. Cisse Marina.
And it's also writing, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes I gather so many things in my head, especially when I'm excited, that I cannot read. I will just talk. I know we have time challenge here, and I know how disciplined the chairperson is in terms of time, that I will do my best to say what I have to say within the limited time given to me. As I said earlier, just a few minutes ago, I'm a Gambia High School product. I was one of the best, but also one of the most challenging student. But I do not want to take much time on that. I would always say that the foundation is what speaks for the building. You cannot get a solid building if the foundation is not solid. I cannot start without recognizing the chairperson who is sitting by me as somebody who put a lot in me except French. I was not good in French. Why? Because the first experience and persons I had to teach me French, I spent much time laughing at them instead of concentrating. And that was Muse and Madame Andre. And the reason being that Madame Andre was not also good in English. So during that time, at that time, we used to do sports, and Madame Andre helped us. And I'll give you just one example that we always remember. After basketball, no, it was rounders, somebody we rotate to clear up. And this particular time we had a classmate, and I would dare call her name Jankenjai. So after sports, she ran, and went to the restroom to get prepared for the next lesson. I was behind, and Madam said, I said, who, me, Madam? And she said, Be Kumba. I'm not talking you, I'm talking Janke. So with that, I said, French, me? I'm not going to do French. And it's one thing I regretted. Because when I joined the international field with the United Nations, I attended meetings where sometimes we don't arrange it properly, that we don't consider the French that participate. And I remember in FEMNET, that was in Kenya, that's the regional African body on women, which I was vice chairperson for 12 years. We didn't cater for the French, and they came to the meeting preparing for the Nairobi, the Beijing conference. And we are in charge. The regional meeting was in Dakar, and I was supposed to lead. And there, the Senegalese, the Mauritanians, they were all there. But I know they speak Wolof. So not to waste much time, I told them, let us speak in Wolof. And I translated in English, as if we are talking French. And that was how we survived in that meeting. So I really regretted why I didn't do French. However, having a very good, passionate, and caring lecturer or teacher, I should have made use of that opportunity. But this person that I would first start with, and he will not count the minutes I'm talking about him, is somebody who is caring, somebody who takes the students at heart, loved his job. I remember in 1960, I think it was 67 or 68, we had a student demonstration revolting against a comment that was made about the Gambia, that we steal their things, and that's why they are not progressing. And I would even say this was Senghor. We stood right opposite here with our baskets and pans of rotten eggs, rotten tomatoes. And then the police came. To clear us, we ran into the school. And this person I'm talking about stood outside and said, no police should come here, it's against Gambia High School rules. Only to be arrested and taken to the police. We also followed, just to tell you how good I was in those things. And for 2 days, we were just following. Unfortunately, 2 of our classmates, or a bit senior, was even deported thereafter, but he stood and said no, and almost lost his life, and that is Crispin Gray Johnson. Crispin did so well for us that, and followed that, he followed his students to excel, and that is what Gambia High School gave me from somebody like Crispin. I was in Nairobi in 1981 as on mission, ILO mission. It was Kenya, Ghana, and Ethiopia, where I spent 1 month each. He was in Ethiopia every day. He would come to see that I followed what was written for me. And I did it very well, and I achieved the desired result. That's Crispin Gray Johnson. In 2008, working for the United Nations, I was posted in Ethiopia, and there also he comes very often as consultant. The first thing he does, come to my office, what have you achieved? What are the problems? What do you need to do? As a Gambia High School teacher, following up to that level, Crispin needs to be commended. Let's give him a round of applause. And up till now, we are together. I have many other teachers that if they were here, they'll tell you a lot about me, but I can also speak to them, mixing the foundation and also making me who I am today. In Reading, where I did all my degrees up to masters, I would always say, where are you from? Where did you study? I said, Gambia High School. No, not only Gambia High School. Where else? I said, Gambia High School, please, because Gambia High School made me who I am to be here today. So please, I would encourage you to hold the flag of Gambia High School in your words, in your name, and in your deeds, because you will excel to the highest height. I would also like to add that education is not just literacy. Gambia High School bring up its students not only to read and write, but in addition to that, you should be able to acquire the knowledge and skills that make you functional in society. That is the way you will excel. And all our teachers went beyond the academic part of what they should give us and gave it to us, to giving us the knowledge and skills that we can assimilate in any society and can do any job. Why did I choose the career I chose? It's because of Gambia High School. Gambia High School made me so brave that in all my positions that I held, human rights was part of it. How did they do that? I was able to speak to the teachers directly. I was able to tell them what I wanted, and I was also able to acquire the skills that I can communicate with that should take me to where I should be. Gambia High School gave it to me. Discipline is another thing they don't joke with. Somebody talked about, about Mare. I know why they gave her the name Mare. And Mare, for those of you who didn't do French, is mother. And I learned that, if for nothing, I learned that in French. Mother, not so? Yes, that is Mare. And Mare, I have a long history and story that went with me and Mare. The other person is Mrs. Cole. Yeah? Your uniform has to be clean, below the knee, not on top of the knee, or you'll go home immediately. She was very, very firm. She was very nice, but firm. So we all got that discipline. When it's blue, you cannot mix the blue and the green. But there are others that everybody can talk about, and I can, but because of time limit, I would always say Adelpha Nyai Satang, who was eventually my colleague. We sit in cabinet, and she knows who I am. When things are ready to brew, she will hold my skirt and pull it, so I don't talk. And then when we go out, I'm glad you didn't say anything. I said, hey, teacher, I thought that was at Gambia High School. Now you are bringing it to cabinet. That was Satang Jiao. And many others. Adel Njai, who is the most patient. When we go for domestic science, eventually our Alcalo was the first male to join domestic science class. That's Pa Omar Fall. And we have a mockery, economy in the kitchen. Then when we're going for gardening, we remove our shoes and start. I would be behind economy in the shoes. Economy in the shoes, and everybody will laugh. You either go walk party, detention, but I am free because I didn't say it loud. That was Adel Njai, very patient. And many, many other teachers. If I miss them out, my apologies because of time limit. One advice that I would give them is what I gain in my life, and that is volunteerism. I volunteered in a lot of organizations in the Gambia. I'll just give you one Gambia, one international. And all was what I got from Gambia High School. In the Gambia, Family Planning Association was struggling to get it to be recognized and appreciated in the rural areas. I worked from Katong to Koyena, having staff there with cooperative and with the Department of Community Development. And there were 2 staff recruited at the Family Planning Association. That was Alberta Awatsi, posted in Basse, where I was based, And we have Alabamboj in Mansakonko covering the whole of the Mansakonko area. And these two people will join me with my groups, women's groups, using them to establish family planning and to educate people about family planning. This is all volunteerism because I was not paid. And I eventually became the first female elected member of the Family Planning Association board. That's an award, a reward that all of you can get. And with that, we pray for the head, then executive director of family planning, Tunde Thomas, may his soul rest in perfect peace, would say it everywhere how people can volunteer and make things to happen. Internationally, I was recruited I started my United Nations job as a United Nations volunteer, where we have doctors, engineers, of course, politicians, and different fields. And it so happened that from being a volunteer in the Maldives for 1 year, I became ALD. I came back to Ethiopia to set up the National UNV program for 1 year. That was where I was recruited to be in the mainstream UNDP. Yes. And just to tell you how you can gain, and this is a piece of advice I'm leaving for you, try to volunteer and give back what you gain locally and internationally. And I would encourage you, whilst you do your career path, you can also learn by volunteering. I will leave you with a website where you can also, for the United Nations, you can also apply to be a UN volunteer, regardless of what, but have some experience. And you can start from there to be in the mainstream UN and become a UN personnel until you retire like me, because I've retired like Mariama Thomas said, but I'm not retired yet. So I would advise you all to give back. It's what you give that you get. I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Chairperson. I'm not one of the speakers designated for this afternoon, but I've been asked to give my own little bit, and I'll do that very quickly. We have a lot to give thanks to God for Gambia High School, and I'm just reminded of words in Scripture that Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and human beings. And so I want to say that the kind of education we received in Gambia High School was holistic. We were not only prepared to pass exams and go to college and university, but we were prepared for life. Intellectually, given wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and we had great teachers. I mean, I will read a poem at the end of this to show you how wise and eloquent and erudite our teachers were. The chair taught me French, and I'm grateful for that. I am not very, very fluent, but at least I can go by. I remember once I was traveling to the Philippines, and we had to go through Gabon. And when we got to Gabon, the people at the desk at the airport just took my passport and said, "Oh, madame, allez, allez." And I said, "Qu'est-ce que tu veux?" And he said, "Oh, go, viens, 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 ton passport. So, I mean, if I didn't know any French, I would not have, my passport would have been taken and I may not have been able to travel. And so we give thanks to God for teachers who taught us, instilled discipline into us, because that was very important, and I would want to hand that over to you, please. We need to accept the discipline that we are given because it will stand us in good stead for the future. So not only did we grow in wisdom, we also grew in stature, physical education was something that we cherished in high school. I remember going swimming with Madame Andre, and that was just so exciting. We played tennis, we played basketball. Sports days were out of this world. We really looked forward to sports days and the competition between the houses. And of course, Red House was always top, and that was my house. Wisdom and stature, and in favor with human beings and with God. The social life in school also helped to prepare us for the future. There was drama. We got together, we had different clubs, and this was helping us to be able to socialize with other people and not just become individuals. If there's something killing the world today, it's individualism. Me, my, and my own. I want to just say that there's this South African saying of Ubuntu. You are because we are. And I pray that we will take that to heart. So we learn to socialize with one another. And I'm sure we are all here today because we were all friends. We were all friends. We had our little tiffs, but we are all friends, and we are grateful to God for that. And then favor with God. And I want to thank God for our assemblies, both Christian and Muslim, and the Scripture Union, which prepared me for the task I was going to take in the future. I first trained as a home economics educator, thanks to Mrs. Adel Fanjai, who inspired me. But then God called me into the ministry, and I had to study theology, and I went all the way to the University of Edinburgh, and nothing could have prepared me for that, except that I went to a good school like the Gambia High School. So the impact has been great. Prepared, given wisdom, our intellect developed. We also had our bodies also developed through physical education. We learned how to socialize with one another. And then we're brought closer to God. And I want to say my thanks to the Reverend Millard. He was Mr. Millard at the time. He was our math teacher, but he was responsible for the Scripture Union. And he sends his greetings because I'm still in touch with him. He should have been here himself, but because there is no direct flight from the UK at this time, it's a roundabout way to get to Banjul. And for his age, it was a bit too much for him. But he sends his greetings to all of us and to you as well. And I give thanks for the girls, because one of the things that I have done in my volunteering is to be involved in girls' education. And I've served in the forum for girls' education for quite some time before I left for the UK, because girls' education for me is important. Dr. Kweji Agre said, you educate a man, you educate an individual. You educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. And I think Africa is behind because we have not focused on educating our women. If our women are educated, we're going to see Africa move in leaps and bounds in a very powerful way. I just want to conclude with a little poem I wrote for this anniversary, because I think it is just so important that we remember some of the things that have happened. And this is just a summary. I'm sure there is much, 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 much more that can be said. And I just want to end with this little poem. All glory be to God Most High for the class of 71, and for our alma mater, dear, the great Gambia High School. The class of 71 made up in every way of brilliant, fun-loving boys and girls, now adults, each in their own right. Few memories would now come to mind. Sneezes, which came out as yesterday, or one student insisting that AWE was to be pronounced are we instead of O. Rare products of all teachers great, erudite and wise. The Forces, Andrews, Cleavers, Gines, MJ, HI, the Giles, Mahoney, Cole, Millard, McGilvray, Carroll, Gray Johnson, Clark, Jai, Fine Jai, Soul, Jenkinson, Brand, Kingma, Lowe, Metuge, Jobate, Hines, Higgs, Christie, Pye, Adams, Gangshow, and Tay. The class of 71, unique in every way, turned out bankers, surveyors, accountants, teachers, economists, nutritionists, and more. Tourism, entertainment executives, diplomats, business entrepreneurs, office assistants, engineers, religious and community leaders, too, and the list goes on. Women of the class of 71, glass ceilings broke. First woman in fields of solely men's domain. From the class of 71 emerged Gambia's first woman lawyer, civil engineer, statistician, and minister of religion. What a class. The class of 71 has contributions made to great Gambia's development cause. And as we give thanks, so may we then, as salt and light, pray, serve, and strive for freedom, peace, and justice true, pledging our firm allegiance in country and in diaspora to the Gambia ever true.
Thank you very much, very inspiring introduction, a beautiful poem which summarizes the achievements of the class of 71. She said it all. They've become all kinds of things. From this group that graduated 50 years ago, you had all types of people in all kinds of professions, thanks to Gambia High School. And thank you, Reverend Femi Konjai. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to our Alcalo, Mr. Omar Fall.
Mr. Chairman, I shall begin by remembering all the teachers and friends who are no longer with us. We offer prayers that the Almighty God will welcome them into heaven. We also pray for the well-being and good fortune of their families. Teachers, classmates, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, and all the honorables and excellencies in this room. May we all be blessed with good health, long life, and happiness. 50 years ago, we were at Upper 5 in this prestigious institution, the Gambia High School. In July 1971, we completed our O-level exams. With great joy and some anxiety, we left the school to enter the world of work and the life of adulthood. We express our gratitude to Almighty God that we are gathered here today to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that important date in our lives. My classmates have asked me to speak briefly on how Gambia High School has impacted my life. It is not easy or comfortable to reflect on one's own life and activities, but the lessons already learned by us, the elders, can be helpful to our children who now run Gambia High School and other schools, and to our grandchildren who study at these schools. Teachers, classmates, friends, to summarize my reflection, I can say without hesitation that Gambia High School had made three major impacts on my personal and professional life. Number one, self-confidence and a sense of independence. Number two, recognition of the power and importance of education. Number three, sense of duty to serve the community. When I was at the Methodist Prep School, my father, the late Alcalo Alhaji Emo Fall, was a very successful businessman, working as a commission-earning sales manager for the French colonial trading company, Morel Frere, at their building at Wellington Street, Bathurst. He had the financial means and the general independence to provide substantial support not only to his extended family, but to a wider community as well, in Latrikunda, Serekunda, Banjul, and elsewhere. At the height of the struggle for decolonization, my father entered the world of active politics. He lost his role as a business executive and the wealth that came with it. He became a civil servant, observing the dictates of general orders and the many rules and restrictions of being a public servant. With that family background, by the time I was at Gambia High School, I had developed a sense for professional independence. I wanted to work for myself, make my own decisions, and attain the freedom that comes with financial and career autonomy. In 1960s Gambia, this was not necessarily a common aspiration. Ambitious young people wanted to be senior civil servants. For me, Gambia High School gave me the skills, tools, and confidence to create a career for myself as an independent businessman. Making this choice in the 1970s required a certain degree of self-confidence and perhaps even courage, because one was not guaranteed a monthly salary, let alone a pension. From as early as Form 1, Gambia High School allowed and encouraged us, the students, to organize ourselves and do things for ourselves. We planned and organized social events, including picnics, outing, and farewell parties. These were run well enough for our teachers to attend and participate. We hosted at our homes, visiting exchange students from Senegal, taking the responsibility to demonstrate and uphold the discipline, hospitality, and reputation of the school, and indeed, the progressive aspiration of the newly independent country. I immersed myself in these activities, enjoying the ability to make things happen, and appreciating the trust accorded to us to take operational responsibility for the many events and activities we organized. In a way, without knowing it then, these were the beginning of my career in tour operating, tourism, and hospitality. Gambia High School encouraged us to think for ourselves and to express our views. Teaching was not only copying notes from the blackboard and cramming. Our teachers engaged us in discussions, analyzing and debates. This allowed us to understand our potential as individuals and gave us confidence to be ambitious for our future careers. After many years taking woodwork classes at Gambia High School, One year, I decided to switch to join the girls at home economics and domestic science. This was highly unusual. I was the only boy in the class. By then, I already had the confidence to decide for myself what I wanted, even if it was unusual, unprecedented, or pioneering. Neither my teacher, Mrs. Adele Fainjai, nor the school itself discouraged me or queried my decision. They could have said no or ridiculed my choice, but rightly, they endorsed my sense of independence and nurtured my self-confidence, and I am most thankful and most grateful. Whilst at Gambia High School, I knew that lawyers could be independent, but I was not inclined to a legal career. Yet, I did not know many other professionals who could have chosen how, when, and where they worked. However, one of our classmates, the late Catherine Foon, her father, the late Keba Wali Foon, was like my father, also involved in politics. But for Mr. Foon, despite contesting so many elections, he maintained his independent and professional career. I was to learn that he was a certified accountant. As a result, I considered accountancy as a possible career. Incidentally, by the early 1980s, Mr. K.W. Foon was one of my many older friends and a very good mentor he was to me. This led me to the importance and power of education. Maybe it was the highly selective nature of Gambia High School as a grammar school, or perhaps the constant pushing from our parents and guardians. But without any doubt, Gambia High School had the atmosphere of scholarships and excellence. This was keenly nurtured by the teachers and the school leadership. We looked up to the young graduates who were our teachers, the likes of Madame Andre, the American Peace Corps, the British VSO volunteers, Dr. Florence Mahoney, just returning home as the first Gambian PhD holder, Miss Victoria Peters, who became Mrs. Clark and the founder of Zenith School in Fajara, Miss Satangjane, who became Mrs. Jao, Gambia High School principal and Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Crispin Gray Johnson, who became a UN official and Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Some of them were barely 10 years older than us. They were more than just classroom teachers. We visited their houses, and they visited our homes. We were impressed and inspired by their achievements and social standings, and they impressed upon us that education was the passport to success. By the second half of the 1960s, higher education for Gambians was no longer limited to the UK and Africa. As students at Gambia High School, we knew of schoolmates, cousins, and uncles who have traveled to the United States or Canada for their further studies. Some of you will remember that for many years, I was known by the nickname States. This was because of my keen interest and knowledge about the United States as a place where access to higher education was easier, opportunities were many and plentiful, and the spirit of freedom was alive in the civil rights movement. In the afternoons, after finishing classes at the Gambia High School, I was one of the boys who went to the American Embassy Library, situated at Clarkson Street, to read about American universities and American lives, and imagine myself in those beautiful campuses and corridors of learning, and at the atmosphere of the skyscrapers, the bright lights, the popular cultures, and the modernity. After my O-levels, After my O-levels, I was accepted to study for a bachelor's degree in business administration and economics at Tugalo College, Tugalo, Mississippi. This was to be my route to become an accountant. As an independent business professional, that dream did not become reality, partly due to financial difficulties, and partly because I found myself in the world of business as early as 1972, in the new and emerging tourism sector in the Gambia. I was privileged enough to use the money and the connections I had made in business to ensure that education remained a cornerstone of our family and community. My younger brother, lawyer Idi Fall, who followed me at the Gambia High School, became the first in our family to earn a university degree in 1976. And in my private capacity, I had the good fortune to support hundreds of Gambians from different social backgrounds to obtain a good education here in Gambia and abroad. In 1974, by the age of 22, I established the Pa Omar Fall Prize for Commercial Mathematics here at the Gambia High School. Under the leadership of Mr. Eric Foss in his final year as principal, I wanted to promote commercial education at a time when the school was focused mainly on arts and science subjects. About 15 years after its launch, with the advice of Mrs. Zhao as principal, the prize was rededicated to reward students who demonstrate utmost determination. Teachers, classmates, friends. Our upper five class of 1971 enrolled at Gambia High School in the September of 1965. We were the first intake after Gambia gained independence in February of that year. There was no doubt that being at Gambia High School, we were a privileged minority. That privilege came with expectations, responsibilities, and social obligations. From the PWD drivers who gave us lift to and from Banjul, to the teachers and principals who tutored us at the school, to the general public who recognized and respected our uniform and our badge, everyone expected that we would work hard in the good of our lives, support our families and community, and contribute to the development of the newly independent country. Like many of you, that sense of duty to serve the community remains an important part of my entire life. We all carry out that community and national obligation, both formally and informally. In the past 50 years, I have contributed to many community organizations, served as member and chairman of the Gambia Ports Labour Board, and currently serve as ambassador at large for the Republic of the Gambia, and Alcalde of Latukula Yeringanya at the Kanifing municipality. All our roles, directly and indirectly, we fulfill the obligations expected of us as the privileged alumni of the school. For me, I did not make it to Tugalo College, Mississippi. Thankfully, I make it at Gambia High School, Banjul, the Gambia. I am forever grateful to Gambia High School as an institution and for the defining and positive impact it had on my life. Mr. Chairman, teachers, classmates, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your kind attention.
Extend a very warm welcome to our fellow, classmates, especially to Reverend Femi, who traveled far and wide against much odds and much difficulties to be here. Femi, thank you. We appreciate that. I would take this opportunity to thank Mr. Omomodu Baba Jallo, Principal Gambia High School, for giving us this opportunity, and to thank you, young boys and girls, for taking time to come and listen to some old men and women talk about 50 years ago. Wow, it has been 50 odd years. We are blessed and we thank Allah, God Almighty, for allowing us to be able to gather here today to celebrate this August occasion. I remember way back 65 when we first came here, dressed in our smart uniforms, crisp and immaculate, with the crescent, the palm tree and the elephant crest on our breast pockets. And we knew that we were embarking on a new beginning and a life-changing day. Most of us were strangers to each other, but today I can safely say that maybe apart from the few strands of gray hair we have and the loops and lines on our cheeks, which we carry as emblems of wisdom, we are still, the same. We still carry some of the nicknames some of us, had emerged due to our interactions in our daily lives at this very school, and those have endured up to this day. I want to therefore take time to express our thanks and gratitude to the Almighty for the many gifts that He has bestowed upon us. The excellent friendships we have, the teachers we have, and now most of us have said very nice things about the teachers, and I want to say a little bit more. They taught us integrity. They taught us interpersonal relationships. They taught us order and discipline, especially Mrs. Cole and Mare. Yes, they were Mare. They were our mothers here, and they taught us and put us through manners. And it has benefited us from that day up till now. And for that, we want to remember them and thank them. Gambia High School prepared us. The teachers we had took interest in us, not only in the classroom, but in and outside of the classroom. They gave of themselves freely and encouraged us to have discipline, integrity, loyalty, and above trustworthiness and personal loyalty. And these are attributes that, I don't care where you go in this world, you need. Some of us after high school had the opportunity to travel abroad and go on to carry on the institutions, the education in all the institutions of higher learning, and they did not find themselves wanting or shortchanged or disadvantaged because the foundation was built here. Our teachers were loving to us, but they were also taskmasters. They demanded excellence of us. They demanded we do our best. And like the song says, they will not settle for less. And those of us who did not go abroad to study at first went into the work field, joined the workforce. And as I said, all those qualities that Gambia High School prepared us with, we found we were able to use them and excel in whatever fields that we pursued here. Like I said, I left school and became a, unqualified teacher. After a few years, I joined the Gambia Utilities Corporation, as a stores clerk. And within a short time, I was availed the opportunity to go to England on a course sponsored by the Crown agents at that time in supply and materials management. We had 23 people representing 19 nations. And that time was just 22, 23. And I was able to fit in with no problem. After that, I came back and I was promoted to the post of Chief Stores and Purchasing Officer for the Utilities Corporation, a position I held for about 10 years. In '83, I moved to the States with my American wife at that time, went to school, but at that time we had a young family, we had kids coming up, and I found that, maybe we'll help the kids, get established. I was able to go to the community college and then to, university. And as I said, was able to fit in. We thank our teachers. We want to really, I cannot thank them enough. We are just fortunate. We're just fortunate to have them. And time is going, and I would really, maybe if you all have questions, maybe the floor will be open to questions and answers, and we will be able to interact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfolding folders, I would like to introduce myself according to the ceremonial distribution of human and national identity and unification. My name is Rahisi. My name is Rohi Sise, Assistant Head Girl of the Morning Shift. I'm also a young writer, a movie actor, and also the artistic poet of the Gambia. This poem is entitled Gambia High. Kana taje cause it is a school of prostitutes. Doliko kana taje cause it is a school of swag. Doliko kana taje katunko itolle video malbalo kenying Gambia sate okono. But for many years, the rejected cornerstones are now the centerpiece. For 9 aces, we produce academical excellence. Actresses, boy. Mamadou Sabali, the Gambia's best. Tombon Tamba, of the president of the Gambia. Alingam fan mutakai bambang for the best. Knowledge, intellectuals and educationists, one like Mr. Jallo, the current president, and Usa Senghor. The high students do not brag for we are humble. We do not cheat for we are we do not sleep for we are present. Gambia Senior Secondary School is the best, and we will always be the best. Yes, and strive to serve the Gambia is the first. The Gambia. Africa tomorrow, Gambia Senior Secondary School leads the way to success. Sise, artistic poet of the Gambia.
So my question goes to Akmal. Yes. So I want to ask to give us a little advice for us, the youth or the students nowadays, education with technology.
This issue that we do not understand because the assistant head boy of the afternoon shift asked a question. These people were here since 1965 and they were done in 1971. How possible? What does that mean? We want you to explain to us the way the system was and the way it is now. Because currently we believe we are here for 3 years. For example, from 2014, 15, and 16 you are graduated. So your own was with guide we wanted to understand. Maybe I know, but I'm sure others do not understand.
We deal with the new behaviors that we are seeing among the youth. As maybe parents, as professionals, as former students of Gambia High School. Which of the panelists would like to take that?
The environment
Sorry. Thank
that
you.
we live in, that we operated in, was like what some of us said. It was disciplinary. We made sure that compassion prevails, and we also ensured that we are there for each other. It was never I, me, and myself. Your neighbor is your relative. Your neighbor's relative is your relative. That is where it started. Then coming back to the school environment was such that it was not only academic, but it was disciplinary. Respect, number one. Hard work, number two. It was competitive. I'm sure Francis Young did not tell you. But we competed to make sure that everything is first, even if you know that you are going to be last and next to last, but you will compete. Now it's not happening. From what I see, the few years that I've been coming and going is that everybody is to yourself, number one. Number two, the environment is not enabling for growth. We have to be very honest. We talk of youth empowerment. I even hate the MENT in the empowerment because that's a process. It's not an end in itself. Who should make it? It's the youth. You have to give them an enabling environment for them to behave and be different, even from the classroom, even in the schools. We have to carry that over. Whose responsibility? I will not say all, but we all know whose responsibility, including our parents also. But this world that we are in now is not a world of competing for success, but it's a world where we follow each other. And if you follow each other, you will not reach your direction, because it may not be the right direction.
Okay, good.
Has been partly answered by Kumba and Mr. Gray Johnson. You see, nowadays, IT is very important and it's very good. But we, the elderly people, we are not much into IT. And most of the students spend most of their time not reading. The best thing, I think, for students is to read, and read. And by reading a lot, you can able to discuss and you can be able to analyze. But nowadays, you spend most of your time on the IT, and it's just not very difficult. If you know the techniques and you know the method, then you can go and spend as much time. Myself, I had a lot of difficulties with my grandchildren because they don't understand much. Whatever you said, even simple additions, they go to the computer to add. 5 times 5, they cannot even say 25. They have to use their fingers. So I think students nowadays should spend most of their time reading from textbooks, and that will help. I'm not stopping anyone to go to the internet or try to learn, go to IT, but spend time to read your books, and that will help. Thank you.
Most important differences is that the class sizes have increased. In our time, our classes were not more than 25 students in one class. So that's a very important difference because the burden on the teachers is much more because they have more students to deal with, and the diversity of the students in the class makes it more challenging when the number is also very high. So that's one important difference. Another difference is the curriculum. The curriculum changed a lot. Earlier on when we started, I think it was Mr. Crispin Johnson or Francis Jones who said, at that time in Gambia High School, you studied general education. General education is kind of like an interdisciplinary subject that introduces and exposes the students to a variety of different skills and knowledge. Now, there is a lot of emphasis on specialization. Specialization is not a bad thing, but it's also good to expose yourself to general knowledge because that's how you understand how to relate in different environments, how to relate with people from different cultures, and how to understand what perspective is all about. So that's a very important thing. Our teachers, I believe, I'm not suggesting that the teachers now are not highly qualified. They are highly qualified. But we had teachers that were very dedicated. They wanted the students to succeed, and they made the effort. They ensured that opportunity and the time is committed. Students now are forced to go for studies. We didn't have that during our time. Afternoon school studies by force, we did not have that. But we had our homework and time to do it, and our homework was marked and we received feedback regularly. So I think those are some few changes. Of course, the idea of social media has been raised already. That is a distraction. It is the reality of your generation, unfortunately, and you have to adapt. But it can be a distraction if you don't manage it very well and you are not able to control around it.
Do very well. Yes, it was really not only Gambia High School students. In those days, the practice was when you feel it, you say it or you do it. I will just tell you why we did that. It was not only Gambia High School students, you have students from St. Augustine. Even those that were not at high school, they joined. Because that was when the economic situation was getting different and worse. And our neighbors said their economy is affected because Gambians smuggle their goods. That was not pleasing to us students in particular, and not pleasing to the community as well. So the students' union in each of the schools came together and said, no, we have to show our dismay in what has been said. And that was President Senghor saying it to our president then, and also there was really a bit of an exchange. So we said, okay, he was coming to solve the situation or even to address it and bring peace. We said before peace, they have to know what we are feeling. And that was when we agreed. There was very few, in fact, not so many Gambia High School students vis-a-vis and other students that joined. But we did not start it. It was like a joint effort, and when we stood outside with our rotten tomatoes, rotten eggs, our baskets, the police said no. And when the guests came, stayed at the airport because the tension here was not pleasing. But we all ran into the school. We were accommodated in the school. And Mr. Gray Johnson stood and told the police, this is against the rules of Gambia High School. You should not enter the school without permission. Yeah. And that really made the situation worse. Yes. We all slept at the police station with him.
She's right. It was not a student affair. There was a National Youth Council. That happened to be the Secretary General of the National Youth Council. The Youth Council that organized the protest. And of course, students joined. Not only students, but youth from other walks of life. Now, the third question is the system before and the system now.
Discipline.
Discipline. Who would like to take that?
I can say a little bit. Yeah. Okay, coming back to the problem of the question about discipline. In my opinion, somebody said it starts at the house. Discipline, Mr. Johnson said that in the school at the time, when the teacher spoke, we listened. At home, when our parents spoke, we listened. We did not question, we didn't talk back, we didn't answer back. And also the community looked out. We looked out for each other. What as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. If we were out in the street misbehaving and we saw a grown-up, the same age as our parents, we would run and hide. If we get caught, they would discipline us in the street, bring us home, and we will get another beating or another whooping. Instead of nowadays, you don't dare do that. So we need to go back. And also parents, I'm not saying all, but some parents have given up parenting. They want to be friends instead of parents. You are a parent first. The friendship the child has to earn. So it's both at the house and in school. Respect your teachers, listen to the teachers, listen to your parents, work hard, study, and it will get better.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Let me ask you a question. Do you have something called work party? In Gambia High School? Do you have detention?
No? That explains a lot.
We had something called work party. If you misbehave, depending on the severity of the infraction, you'll be put on what's called work party. They'll give you cutlasses, hose, and you go clear the grass out there. Or they'll keep you after school. It's called detention. If it's more severe, they take you to the office for caning. There were 2 people who were designated by the Ministry of Education to cane at Gambia High School. Mrs. Cole for the girls, and my humble self for the boys. And anybody brought to my office, I'd cane you. So yeah, that's what they say, it's illegal, but it worked during our time. So that's the extent of the difference between discipline then and discipline today. It's getting dark. I thank you also for your patience and your participation. Moderator, Francis.
Sunday, but I just want to say something to us here. But I also want to welcome one of us. He was not formally welcome, and he's here with us, Winston Edwards. Buyers came to. So when we talk about the groundnut industry, it's people like Mr. Vincent Edwards were there making sure that GPMB move. So before I say, I tell you about on what's happening on Sunday, I just ask the principal, Mr. Jallo, to say a few words. Mr. Jallo.
Thank you very much, sir. Staff, students of Gambia Senior Secondary School. Staff, students of Gambia Senior Secondary School. I want to thank these important personalities here for sharing their experiences and for inspiring us. This will serve as a catalyst to everything that you do in this school. You will recall when I was deployed here a few months ago that exactly what they have said here is what I said when I was deployed here. So this has confirmed my words. I did say that Gambia Senior Secondary School has served as the bedrock for development in this country. Because when you look at in all the sectors of this economy, most of the peoples at the helm of affairs are products of Gambia Senior Secondary School. And I did also mention that Gambia Senior Secondary School was a pace setter that every school in this country used to emulate. I did also mention that when it comes to performance, when it comes to discipline, Gambia Senior Secondary was the lead school. So that means you students, you have a big task. It is our responsibility to ensure that what these people have done in this school, obviously, would continue to rise. And we have to promise that we will continue to do the good work of these important personalities. Now, I didn't mention, if you could recall, when I came here, I said when I was deployed from Kawur to Farafenni Senior Secondary School, I had a vision that I wanted to accomplish within 5 to 6 years. And when I mentioned this, to some people it was too utopian, that it was not achievable. But through divine intervention, we are able to achieve our targets and the same objectives that we have for Gambia Senior Secondary School. So I'm definitely delighted that we have very experienced people who can help in guiding us, who can give us the support in terms of advice or anything that we may need. So I want to thank them very much, and I hope we will continue to see them once in a while so that they will continue to inspire us. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we want to assure you that we will continue to make Gambia Senior Secondary School one of the best institutions in this country. I thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think Sanya request was to say something. One of the organizing members, I think he wants to say something, and then that's it, and we just announce what's happening.
Sorry, I must first apologize to the panel. I just wanted to reinforce some of the things that were said, because there was this question about the difference. I think Hassan did answer some of the questions, and that is the difference between our time and your time. And he tried to emphasize on discipline. I'm saying that we are all responsible. You are responsible. We as parents are responsible. Because I think we are treating you too softly. And what we need is the stick and the carrot. Now, what is happening nowadays is alarming. So a few days ago, I was driving in my car, and I had a court settlement about something in Marina. I'm sure some of you heard it, no? You know, a parent has to take somebody to court just because of school. This is unheard of in our time. It's unheard of. You see? Now you, as Mr. Gray Johnson have said, you have to listen to your teachers. You know, don't bring your egos here, right? You need to listen, have discipline. Some of these things you have to get it yourselves. Right? All the teachers have to do is to nurture it. I'm not blaming you only as pupils. I'm blaming parents as well, as I'm a parent. Now, Hassan was trying to elaborate on it. We had community disciplining. Nowadays, if I meet up even with Kumba's son, if I would do something, anything, he would say, I mean, who the hell are you? Did you pay my school fees? You know? Or maybe Kumba would say, come on, why should you, treat my child like that? In our time, what we dare not do in the presence of our parents, we will not do in the presence of other people in the community. And this is something that you have to understand. You must respect your teachers. You know, you cannot stand up to your teachers. Now, it was shocking when we said you don't have no detention, and work party, you know, and things like that. So, you know, you have been treating too softly, you know. But what we are trying to tell you here, these brilliant minds here have been telling you what their experience is. And if you want to, you know, be somebody's tomorrow, you have to harvest what you have learned today. And the main thing is discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We've come to the end. It's getting late now. The only other activity that we have for this, it's a celebration. We didn't come out here to promise you mountains and hills. We are celebrating 50 years of being together. I hope one day you too will stand here and celebrate 50 years, and people will ask you questions.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yai Baram.
I get it.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birin koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong blabe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma nin domorol ni fana beteata. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat
apelenta
ni wo ka ni me lafta nyelen kendo le bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.